Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special Thursday edition of Gehenna Gaming Interviews. Tonight, I have Ellie Collins, storyteller for ATL or Atlanta by Night, and Elder Kindred, much like myself, which I will explain shortly. Ellie is a longtime storyteller and player of Vampire the Masquerade, and ATL by Night recently began its third season, featuring a fantastic cast of actors and gamers. You can catch it live Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, except then you won't be watching us. So we might have to Highlander
Our
fight to the
VODs
death.
are always available the next day.
um, but I wouldn't blame you. It is a fantastic actual play, so I certainly would not blame you going over and watching that on twitch.tv/ATL by night, all one word. But for tonight, we have Ellie all to ourselves. So good evening. How are you?
I am doing pretty well, getting through the week.
Yep.
We had a banger of a season opener, so I'm still a little exhausted from it.
Yeah. No. I coming down from running games is all weird. Like I'm always super wired, and because we do all of our streaming so late in the evening, I'm always like, "Yep, I'm not going to bed now. Nope, this is great. I'm gonna go read for an hour and go watch an episode of like Legend of Korra." Oh, you froze.
Oh, am I still here? Sorry about that.
You are, but you did freeze, so you probably missed everything I just said.
I think I did. I'm so sorry.
Nope, that's fine. I was just saying that I'm always super wired after running games, so it's like 11 p.m. and I should be going to bed, and I'm like, nope, super wired. I'm gonna go watch Legend of Korra, read or do something, and blah 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 blah.
For me, it was just the sheer amount of everything we got into. I got home and just
Oh, nice,
and completely crashed.
nice, nice. So, I do want to talk about Atlanta by Night, but also for our viewers who might not know who you are, I do want to jump into some of your background. Now, you and I know each other, and touch on why we know each other a little bit later. But I happen to know that you have been playing vampires for about as long as I have, since like the late '90s, which is why I said Elder Kindred. How did you get into tabletop gaming in the first place? And was Vampire the first game you played?
Yes, actually. Vampire was my first game. I had friends that played D&D, but I wasn't really as into it at the time because I was so into vampires. Um, but no, I had just recently been diagnosed with OCD and I was 13 and didn't really understand what was going on with me.
Mhm.
And I was like stressing out about it to a friend and really going through it. And she said, "Well," and this is a horrible way to phrase it, but we were 13. And she just said, "Well, like, since you're crazy, you can come to this game that we play where you can play like a crazy character, but they're like really cool." And I got introduced to Clan Malkavian.
Nice, nice.
And it was actually great. It actually helped me like get through things and understand it, kind of have a good place to work through it.
Hmm.
And so I wound up sticking with Vampire for pretty much the rest of my life.
That's awesome. What so Vampire was your introduction to tabletop gaming. What other games and systems have you played?
I've done D&D, I've done a ton of one-shots or just small indie games, stuff like Crash Pandas or Dive Bar in Hell. Just I try and sample a little bit of everything. I'm now into Mage, thanks to Gehenna Gaming. I took that character that I played with y'all and I now play her full-time in a RP server.
Awesome.
And I'm still learning mage. um, and I've played a little werewolf in the past. I played a lot of wraiths, so I've pretty much stayed. A lot of my career has been within the world of darkness.
Okay, awesome. Um, you touched on something, and this is I made me think of it as well because for me, tabletop gaming in particular helps me manage my ADHD. Do you feel that? And this is a little bit of a sidebar from some of the other stuff I wanted to talk about, but tabletop gaming has helped you with in a therapeutic sense.
Yes, absolutely. Um, because like, eh, because especially with Clan Malkavian, where like the things that aren't so great about the clan are actually like can be your strength. They can be a problem, but they can also very much be a strength. So I have a character that I've played for 16 years. She's actually Prince of my hometown now. Um, but she had OCD because 13-year-old me. Uh, and but like with OCD, a lot of my manifestation is counting.
Nice.
So every time she would enter a room, I would roll to count all the windows, all the doors, and everything. And then we got in a scrape where we had to escape from some werewolves, and guess who knew where the door was?
You're like, I know every exit.
Yep.
Nice.
And I kind of learned to have that strength of like, oh, if I just think about this in a creative way,
Mhm.
I can actually be really helpful and I can be really beneficial. And then that led into getting into storytelling and DMing because planning
Yep.
is really in my
Yep.
wheelhouse.
I find that I'm a forever GM myself as well, and game prep is very, very centering for me, very
Mhm.
meditative. I can spend hours hyper focusing on that, and then afterward, I actually feel very focused and very productive on other things. I might be less interested in doing as ADHD does. I
Yeah,
think that's
I'm kind of
fantastic.
starting to realize in my 30s that I might have ADHD. We're figuring that out right now.
Yeah, I mean,
It answers a lot of questions.
massive tangent. I was reading an article recently that many women are undiagnosed as compared to men with ADHD because I mean because sexism, but because things that were considered to be like feminine traits are actually ADHD symptoms to a certain degree. It's
Yep.
like, really? Okay,
It was a
that's a thing.
similar article that got me to reevaluate it, and I was like, this makes a lot of my DMing make sense.
Yep, yep. So most of our viewers and people listening to this after the fact will probably know you as the storyteller for Atlanta by Night. Can you give us a bit of a synopsis of the story so far for Atlanta, but also like how you got started running it as a stream game?
Okay. So, what started us with it is I run a 9-person D&D home game, and it's all my friends that I work in creative fields with. So we really go full out.
Nice.
A lot of the people you see either on ATL by night or in the crew of ATL by night are my D&D players. Uh, one of our fans joked that we have like critical role beginnings, but we like sharp left turned into vampire. Um,
I mean,
but
that's my preference, but
we do that and we would tell people about the things that we would do in the game because I completely homebrewed an entire continent.
hmm,
And people wanted to see it streamed. They were like, I want to see that game. I want to see that game. And we had this deep struggle of like everything we do winds up becoming a stream or a podcast because we're just creative people who
right.
keep creating projects. So we're like, no, we have to keep this D&D game home, just us, not for anybody else. And I said, well, I kind of miss running vampire. If any of y'all would want to be in a vampire game. And then so Aaron and Anton's actors are from my D&D party, and
Mhm.
then Thomasina and Melisande are brand new to vampire. They've never played it before. I think the closest they've ever had to tabletop experience is Mel played a little bit of D&D 3.5. So they're completely brand new, so we get this great mix.
Nice.
But as for our story, so Atlanta fell really hard during the final nights.
Yep.
That much is canon. We got hit really bad. And there hasn't been any new content for Atlanta for 20 years. So we're covering the rebuilding efforts. So the Camarillas had the city for about 10 years. And they have in secret been building their own splinter sect of the Camarilla called the Renashri Camarilla,
Hmm.
because Renashri means rebirth. And uh so we have, Primogen Council and Prince Talbot Rourke, and our coterie is employed as they were kind of put together in an Avengers style,
Okay.
and they are called the Shepherds. And their entire job is to find what has been called the Lost Childer, which are all kindred who returned during the final nights that were maybe Sabbat shovelheads or just like alley cat turns, just people embraced that have nothing. Eh, So they need kind of a place to belong. They need to understand what's happened to them because in our world, if it was that bad, there's probably a lot of kindred that don't even really know they're kindred. So it's the coteries' job to bring them all in, and our Toreador Primogen essentially runs a finishing school for kindred. And that actually led into, we now have a Lost Child or Play guide available on our website for people to play that class. And so it's their whole job to do that. But over time, the prince got very out of control and wound up tricking all the Primogen except the Bruja Primogen out of town, and then replaced them all. Went nuts. I'll save the specifics because it's really fun. He got executed in a werewolf club to ensure a treaty with the Glasswalker tribe. And so now with season 3, we pick up with very hush-hush, super secret seneschal elections, which is actually the election for the new prince, and all of the candidates were revealed on Tuesday.
Awesome. That's classic politics focused, bloody, fun vampire. I love it. So obviously there's a lot going to be happening in season 3. Are there any things you think are going to be particularly surprising for longtime viewers?
I think one of the biggest surprises was who some of the candidates are, considering one of the candidates is who was sort of billed to be the big bad. And he is now a candidate. So I think the wonderful surprising moments are going to be how these candidates present their platforms, because one of the candidates is a member of the coterie, and how she's going to navigate it. And it's actually all going to culminate in our penultimate episode, the one before the finale. We will release a voting system for all of the fans of the show to vote for the Prince of Atlanta after they've had the whole season to hear everyone's platforms. And so the fans will actually be deciding who our prince will be.
Awesome. Very cool. I just want to pause very briefly to say welcome to Josephine McAdams, and thank you for the raid.
Hi,
hello, everyone. Hello, Sugar Cubes. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just to recap briefly for our new viewers, I am with Ellie Collins, storyteller for Atlanta by Night. We are talking about Atlanta by Night and Ellie's approach to storytelling and how she runs games. So grab some water real quick. So on that note, especially with what we talked about earlier with running games being particularly helpful with therapeutically with your OCD, how do you prepare for sessions mentally?
So my show notes are ridiculous. I think I totaled it out. Season 1 had like 35 pages of show notes, and season 2 had around 47. So I write down everything so meticulously, including like if I have an NPC, I write down 3 to 5 lines of dialogue they might say, or ways that they might respond to questions that I know the players are going to ask. So I try and prepare everything to where when we get to the day of, I usually am the first person at the studio, because we are very grateful to have a studio home.
Right.
And I'm the first person at the studio. I hurry up and get my makeup and costume done and everything. And then I just sort of like stay quiet. It's kind of my thing. I know a lot of people listen to music or they do things, but like I try to front load my notes as much as humanly possible. So on the day of, I just completely empty my head so I can go 100% into storyteller mode.
Yep.
Because it's so many cats to wrangle. I think like on the season premiere, I realized after the fact I had done 21 NPCs just for the premiere.
We were talking about that. I remember that.
Yeah, it was it was so much.
Yeah.
And so I kind of take that moment of zen to sort of switch my brain over from obsessively planning into just living in the moment, because once it starts, doesn't matter if I didn't plan for something. I got to be able to improv it. So I have to like kind of go from planning brain to improv brain.
So one thing you mentioned is that the kind of your original Malkavian character is now Prince of your hometown. What is is that who is your favorite character that you've ever created and played, and is it that Malkavian?
I kind of want to say it's her, but that feels like the cheap answer. um I think I think at current, my favorite kindred I've played is probably Darla on the No Kindred Hungry games. Because for all my years of playing a Malkavian, I have been a good little Malkavian that wants to prove people wrong about Malkavians.
Right.
Um,
As yes, absolutely,
yeah,
100%.
it's like you underestimate me because I'm a Malkavian.
Hmm.
Whereas playing Darla and a member of the Sabbat, and those games are my first time playing in the Sabbat.
Hmm.
So it's my first time playing a Malkavian that just revels in the terror of what they can be.
Nice.
And so there's so much fun in that, especially in like a controlled environment. Like they're charity one shots. So it's not like a weekly thing. So we just make every moment count.
Hmm.
And getting to just like be unhinged while also having that time constraint to make sure that I don't go too off the walls. It's a nice controlled environment. It's like a break room.
Yeah,
Like I have this one room and I can smash everything I want in it.
it's awesome. Uh, what do you think was probably your most memorable gaming experience so far, either as a storyteller or as a player?
So, uh storyteller wise, I think my favorite moment was this season premiere when I unveiled the supposed big bad as one of the candidates. It was one of those moments where I just had to do it and then not look at the players. And because I knew that it would crack me because they were freaking out, and the one of the players, it was his primogen that had nominated that guy, and he went and told her off, and I got a 9 crit on punching him for talking out of turn to her. uh but
Nice.
my favorite moment as a player, um a lot of my fans know this story.
Hmm.
So um I was at a LARP. It was my first day as prince. It was like the actual coronation party
Hmm.
for me. And there was a guy, one of the players had pulled me aside and said that there was a guy who had been harassing a lot of the female players, and he was a Ventru. I was like, okay, and I'll figure out what to do about it. And because being prince also meant getting promoted to being like one of the runners
Hmm.
of the events. And his character was going around being like, I can't believe a freaking lunatic is our prince, and just kept throwing around the word lunatic, which she did not take kindly to. um and this guy was like, he feels like 6'11" in my memory because
Hmm.
I was very short. I'm still pretty short. But I just like walked up to this guy and got on my little tippy toes, and I said, Sheriff, I want this man's head. And he was like, you can't do that. And I just like leaned up really close to his face and I said, I know. It sounds like something a lunatic would do. And
Very
then I
nice.
walked the guy to the side and said, I know about what you've been doing at this LARP, so you can take the L and get executed now, or you can take your character and leave.
Nice.
So we narratively covered kicking the guy out.
Awesome. Very nice. Um, I'm going to ask one more quick question, but I want to just
Mhm.
let all of our viewers know, live viewers know that they can submit questions if they want to ask you anything, anything relevant, I should specify. But if they do, please either tag myself, Gehenna Gaming, in your question, or spend some channel points to highlight your question, and that way I will make sure I notice it in the chat. So from all of that and our discussion of, would you say that Vampire is your favorite game?
Absolutely. um, I've always loved Vampire, and I think Vampire even comes out when I DM for D&D.
Mhm.
Because like with our homebrew world, and we're very role light unless it's combat. It's a lot more RP heavy. It's very much storyteller system brought into D&D.
Mhm.
But D&D I get to build maps. And I like that part.
Yeah.
I like the building aspect that comes with D&D, cuz like for Halloween last year, one of our players couldn't make it for the month of October.
Mhm.
And so I had them get completely yanked into a 90s mall universe, and I built a two-story like shopping mall for them, and they
Nice.
had to find him and get out, and the place was full of puzzles.
Mhm.
I gave them all like 90s TV stars that they now looked like. And so,
Very cool.
I like that aspect of D&D, but I think Vampire is a lot more creatively fulfilling.
Yeah, I agree. Personally, and I think you and I've actually had this conversation, but I got my start with D&D original, um, to World of Darkness through Werewolf, and then found Vampire and never looked back. So, I feel much the same way. I think for me, the narrative style of roleplay is more engaging and creatively fulfilling than more of the mechanically focused games.
Yeah.
Couple questions as well as a comment in chat. I'll read the comment first. Josephine McAdams said that she really loves your hair color.
Oh, thank you, Josephine. It's faded from Arctic Fox turquoise.
But Josephine also asked, is ATL by Night your only stream project, or do you have other projects that can be found?
So ATL by Night's my only streaming one, but we are also starting a show called Mortal's Guide to Darkness, and it is a D&D focused how to play vampire show. So it covers a lot of like, because with things like Critical Role, D&D has become so in the spotlight. So it's a show to kind of bridge the translation gap
Yeah,
between the two. So very like, if you like to play a barbarian because of all these, then you might like to play a Brujah because of all these.
nice.
And takes the approach of translating vampire from D&D for people.
Very cool. That will be very interesting. I will definitely sure I try to catch all of that. Can answer that question as well. You do have another streamed project coming up,
I do.
which we can
Uh
talk about briefly.
okay. Yes,
Unless I see
I
Wes start screaming at me in chat.
yes, I, as well as you, am going to be on Iron City by Night, which is a Birmingham, Alabama based, and I'm originally from Alabama, so it's very near and dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I will be playing Madeline, which is my first time playing a Nosferatu. She is a former UAB cheerleader and school bully, so she is a Cleopatra Nosferatu. And it's gonna be very fun. I've never played Nosferatu, so I'm super excited
I,
to get into some shenanigans.
as you said, I am also playing in that game, and I am very much looking forward to it. It's going to be very fun. And all the world building that Wes has done so far over Wes Carey and Comfort Studios is fantastic. So
Oh
people
god, yeah.
are really going to like that show. Josephine said, "Imagine if I were there, I would just romance you."
Oh. Well, we'll talk about ATL by Night. You can romance me there.
Um, and then Marchosius or Mark asked what you thought of playing Mage with Matt Webb GMing it, which I think means he missed our conversation about that slightly earlier.
I got very obsessed with it. I have taken Talia into a RP server that is run by B. Dave Walters. So I get to play Mage with a ton of other people, and they're a wonderful group that I can just say, I have no idea what I can do. Can you please tell me what I can do? How do I format my roles for this? And so I'm learning a lot. But yeah, I took that Euthanatos character and I really studied up on Euthanatos.
Mm-hmm.
So I still play Talia Graves daily now.
Awesome. Um, again, folks, you can just drop questions over in chat, just tag me or highlight them, and I will read them off at different points throughout our conversation. I'm going to jump back into some of my prepared questions here. Focusing more on how you run games and kind of like GM advice. As a experienced GM, what kind of prep do you put into your games? specifically focusing on kind of session prep versus chronicle campaign prep.
Okay, so Chronicle prep, I do very little. I
Mm-hmm.
know where I want it to start and where I want it to end, and then I'll usually OCD. I have so many spreadsheets. I will put spreadsheets for story beats I want to hit. Like if it's okay, we need to do this by this point and this by this point. But also, as my players have taught me, the best laid plans will be destroyed. Um, our entire Second Inquisition plot got kicked off an entire season early. They were not supposed to meet the Second Inquisition until season 4,
Mm-hmm.
and they antagonized them in season 2. So that was fun.
Lovely.
Um and that all happened
Mm-hmm.
because the wrong people answered the door. I did not plan for them to answer the door. Not like it was cops knocking on the door. One of the characters is a detective, and I wrongfully assumed that they would send the detective to speak to the cops, and they didn't. And then the cops were Second Inquisition, and now they know Kindred live here.
Oops.
And so that got kicked off early. So I try and keep I keep notes of what future things I want to do in case something
Mm-hmm.
gets set off early. And then my general prep is because I come from a lot of theater, I write it out like a script.
Hmm.
So I think just episode 1 of season 3 was 15 pages
Wow.
because I had to get through all the candidates and
Yep.
all of that. But so I try and write it out like a script. So all of my parts are kind of scripted.
Mm-hmm.
Just so I know I'm hitting every beat that I need to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And that also gives me a little bit of comfort because if I've written everything that I need to do, then I can rely on improv for the rest of it.
Nice.
So it's kind of one of those, I know I already built the house. Let's figure out how I'm going to paint it.
Awesome. Do you think that that style of prep is particularly beneficial with the style of actual play you do? Because Atlanta by Night is very you're all actors and have very strong capabilities on that side of things. You think that like someone like me who tends to wing it a little bit more would struggle with that style of actual play, conversely?
I think it's so I guess probably to back up to how I got this sort of mode,
Mm-hmm.
because I was trained in this in high school. I had a history teacher that history is one of my worst subjects ever. I have dyscalculia.
Hey,
So
me too.
I yay, I can't do numbers. So dates and things, can't do it. I had 8 reminders for this interview because I woke up today, I'm like, it's definitely Wednesday. Um, and then like 4 different times I was like, is it 8, 8:30, 7, 7:30? I'm not good with dates. And my history teacher had this brilliant way where he wrote an entire outline of notes on the board, and then he would go through and erase random sections of it. Like he would erase a title from a section, he would erase an entire note. So when you got to his class, you could copy down the entire outline and you weren't like not listening because you were writing so many notes, but you had these blanks to fill in. And that's kind of become my GM style is I write an outline full of holes
Hmm.
and then I just let it get filled in as we go and then that can inform the next thing that I do cuz like for our season premiere after announcing the candidates I had 0 notes. Everything of people going to talk to the candidates was just I had done prep for who the candidates were.
Mm-hmm.
So when they went to talk to them, that was all completely improv and for that I thank my theater teacher.
How elaborately do you plan out your NPCs?
I don't make character sheets for them,
Mm-hmm.
but I do plot out general attributes and stats just in case, unless they're the Primogen. The Primogen have their own sheets. Um, but general NPCs, I just write a name, clan if they need it, things that they might generally say, notes about their demeanor so I can stay in character because I have been a voice actor for many years, and
Mhm.
so I like to bring that. I know not everybody does that. Um, for me, it's a thing. Apparently, people, as I noticed on Tuesday, really like when I play a stupid fish. So, um, so I have a lot of fun with the voicing. So it's usually like voice notes, character notes. It's usually just like a paragraph of each.
Nice. Okay. Um, I always like talking to people about that because I vary kind of across the entire spectrum with how I do my SPCs. I think I like for plot critical ones, I create character sheets like they're actual players. Um, and then I do more of what you do for kind of the intermediary ones, and then for like SI agents, things like that, I just have a dice
Yeah.
pool, like physical stats, basically.
Yeah.
So it's always
I have
interesting.
general dice pool because people can't see the back of my storyteller screen, but I should show it sometime. I don't have like a printed storyteller screen. I don't have like the
Hmm.
flat wood ones. I actually have one that myself and our gangrel built the day of episode 1 of season 1.
Nice.
But it's I stuck um cork board on the back of my storyteller screen.
Hmm.
So I just write small notes and I just pin them to the board. And
Hmm.
then so I have some general like NPC stats for, like strong SI soldier, medium SI soldier. And then depending on, okay, I know this episode they're going to encounter the SI, I just move those pins to more of my line of sight.
Nice.
So then I'm not like, where's that
Yeah.
on my screen?
That's nice. Yeah, I've toyed around with a few different things. I tend to use, if I have them, the official storyteller screens, but I would love to get a custom one at some point for similar
I
things like
made
that.
mine out of clearance items from the Christmas section of Joanne. I painted the Atlanta skyline on it, a little Camarilla symbol, and then we were screwing it together on set.
Nice. Um, this is something you and I have spoken about before. The importance of being familiar with the setting for your game. Um, how do you personally go about doing that for a game, a World of Darkness game, where it's a mirror of the real world?
I try to firstly obviously keep to things I know,
Mhm.
and then for what I don't know, I just make it up. So like all of our Primogen have houses that I have looked up on Zillow. And so I have like a Zillow link and I'll save the pictures on a
Nice.
doc so that I have these pictures of this house. So then when they say I go upstairs, I can just scroll through that doc because I have a little iPad behind my screen with me.
Nice.
And I'll just scroll through that doc. So I have these pictures to say, like, okay, on your left is this, on your right is that. But I did have to completely improv the map of our Second Inquisition Institute
Because they
because
got there too early.
well, the Banu Hakim, I knew he was gonna scope it out, and I
Mhm.
thought he was just gonna see, like, I figured it was gonna be, here's how many people are there, here's what kind of facility it is. Nope, he stealthed his way into the air vents and said, I'm gonna walk the entire air vents and make a map of this place for them. And I was like, you're gonna do what? And that was in a private session that we did to keep him up to date. And so
Mhm.
I was in like MS Paint as he's talking, like just making a map.
That's I've done things. I've had definitely had to do things like that. I've had players be like, "Well, I'm gonna map the building, or I'm gonna look up the blueprints," and I'm like
You're like, frick.
sketching over on the side or throwing it because blueprint. I do love putting together blueprints for buildings, but when I have to do it during a session, not so much. Um, and then we have obviously talked about the homebrewed D&D world that you run. So outside of the World of Darkness, um, how granular do you get with the details of the world and the minutia of like towns and different geographic zones, or like do you stick to more high level stuff?
Oh, my D&D continent is very granular.
I had a suspicion.
um, I so there's this great I think it's called like fantasymaps.io, something like that. Azagar. I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's in my bookmarks.
I know
But
there's
they have a
Incarnate.
continent maker. Um And I used that to make the original continent, and I did a whole bunch of adjusting on it.
Mhm.
And then I just sat there for like a week and I have like 8 versions of the map that are 8 different things. So, cuz the world that I built it's called the Wasteland.
Mhm.
And it's nicknamed that by outsiders. The continent for the people who live there has no official name,
Okay.
because it's all of the monster races only.
Cool.
So, no humans, no gnomes. Like, if you can pass as a human in normal society, you don't exist here. The closest we have to humans are tieflings and a few roaming Goliath tribes.
Nice.
Because I wanted to break all my players out of playing typical characters. So it's all monster races only. And so I have the map that has like the climate marked for each zone. I have a version of the map that has culturally like hotspots of certain types. So like Goliath tribes roam here, here, and here.
Nice.
This country over here is primarily all lizard folk. This country down here is primarily turtles. Over here we have loxodons, and then I have another map that's all the kingdoms and general notes about each kingdom. I have a map that has trade routes marked on it because we have a family of turtles
Mhm.
that are all named Heston, even the girl. And it's like 7 Heston children, and their names are just Heston 1, Heston 2, Heston 3, because they asked the turtles names and I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
um
Yep. That's why I
and
have many NPCs over the years named Todd.
well, and their father's name of course is Charlton.
Mm.
uh and so I have like the known trade routes because they're a family of traders, but they each specialize in different things, so they're a different class.
Mhm.
So, like the one that's actually a rogue, this is the paths that they take because they can get the good loot from these towns and kind of fence them.
Nice.
The one that's a wizard goes through these towns. And so I have a ridiculous amount of maps. I have a ridiculous amount of country stuff.
Nice.
And because we also have, since we can't play at home and we were like getting ready for a wedding when the pandemic hit, 2 of the characters are getting married. And we don't wanna do the wedding digitally because I was
Mhm.
gonna build, like, an actual wedding map for them because clearly there's gonna be a fight.
Yeah.
And,
Obviously.
so I've actually taken them, and so for our new virtual game that we've been playing together, I put them on the other side of the continent where they've never been before, and they're playing a thieves guild.
Nice.
So they're all members of this thieves guild, and they get to go on little missions through this other side of the continent that they've never visited before.
Very cool. Um, Question from chat. Uh, do you now do you build these as scenery or do you also use hex maps? And there's
It's a little bit of both. I didn't think to grab the queen's throne room before I came in here. um, they're mainly set pieces, because it is storyteller style. I'm a little loosey goosey on like spacing
Mhm.
and running and things because I don't get into too much of the minutia of rules. Much to I'm sure the initial chagrin of the other DM that plays with me. Uh, He'll be like, "Wait, don't we need to roll attack of opportunity?" I was like, "Ah, the guy wasn't looking." This person over here was casting fireball. He wasn't looking. Cuz I still have that 3 turns and out like stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Um so if it doesn't make narrative sense, I just don't do it. But I have a couple hex maps. There's a wonderful person on DeviantArt that makes floor tiles that you
Mhm.
can just print out. So I had like they went to a masquerade ball and they were given masks as they went in, and then halfway through the ball, the mask of whatever animal they were wearing turned them into that animal, and they had to try and fight as these monsters from the monster manual. And a couple of them didn't do so well. One of them was just a creeping vine. And every turn it was like, I'm gonna move 5 more feet. But like one of them got to be a phoenix, so she was fine.
Oh yeah. Very
But
nice.
that one I used a hex map because that one, since it was using monsters instead of their regular characters, we needed
Mhm.
to be. But like the throne room is because they fought this evil queen who was a Triton, and her throne room was in this like decrepit mountain palace, And so it's like I made a decrepit throne room full of gold and a throne and then a huge pool in the middle that was, I believe, 250 feet deep.
Oh wow.
And so they had to dive into the water to fight her, and there were giant jellyfish in there.
Nice. That's awesome. Um, Related to the maps, um, this is obviously a fairly expansive continent. How do you do travel between different towns and landmarks? Is it kind of like fast travel style, or is it?
It depends. If it's somewhere that they've frequently been and it's not too far, I'll just let them do it.
Mhm.
But if it's somewhere that's gonna be a bit of a hefty trek, then we usually do I'll say, "Okay, it'll take you 10 days to get there. What do you wanna do on day 1? What do you wanna do on day 2? What do
Okay.
you wanna do on day 3?" And then, if they say, like, "We're gonna stop here and make camp," then I have, like, a little list of encounters
Mhm.
that this is my trick. I have a, 1 through 20 list of potential encounters, and maybe, like, 4 of them say nothing.
Oh, nice.
So, like, I'll roll a d20, and then that's what's gonna happen then.
Nice. We had a couple other really good questions over in chat. I just want to rattle off before the rest of the ones I prepared. What is what would you say is one of the more challenging based?
I think, as a player or as a storyteller, or both?
Both.
As a storyteller, I think the challenging thing is I always, very much write to my players' stories, and I do that for D&D and, Vampire. You know, I have people get me their backstory, like, a month ahead of time, and then I have a lot of plot hooks related to that. So, like, Aaron, our gangrel, was turned gangrel when he
Hmm.
tried to join his werewolf girlfriend's tribe, and they were not having that. And they tried to kill him, and he got saved. And so I had a whole plot hook just like waiting in my pocket of him seeing his girlfriend again.
Nice.
And so I write very much geared towards their backstories, which can also come with its own challenges of if you write based with their backstories, it really needs to have an impact. And so I kind of hype myself like both up and down where I'm like, it's gotta be good enough. It's gotta be like, if I'm gonna pull this from their backstory, it's gotta be like worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's awesome.
and then as a player, I think in general, especially if I'm new to a situation, if you're not playing with welcoming people, if you're not playing with people who want to respect you, which is it's a very different thing. Someone it Respecting someone in a gaming space is a very active thing that you have to do. And if you're not playing with people who want to welcome and want to accept and want to work with you, it can be a very isolating experience.
Yeah.
And I've had that on and off throughout my career because some groups you just don't gel with.
No.
Or like mage coming in knowing absolutely nothing, but all of you were so accommodating and so welcoming. I could tell that you guys wanted me to not only learn mage but enjoy being there.
Yeah.
And that made all the difference, and that's what got me into mage, was having that good first experience.
Awesome. Yeah. I think actively being wanted at the table is something that can actually be a challenge in a lot of situations. It's been interesting transitioning from local to virtual gaming with that, and talking with people about finding very welcoming spaces online when it's actually been a challenge for them in person, based on where they live or things like that. Um, One more question. There it is. What do you think are the most important aspects of streamed shows versus home games, or are they kind of the same for you?
I think at least with us, because I don't want to say this advice for everybody. But I think when you're streaming a show, it's very important to remember that people are watching you and people have like I view time as a very, very precious commodity. So if you've chosen to give me 2 hours of your Tuesday night, that is precious to me, and I want to make sure that you are there to have fun.
Hmm.
This isn't just me and my friends having fun gaming, or else we would just be doing it at home.
Right.
Um, so keeping that reminder in the back of your mind that you are there for an audience has come to see you, and so you need to make sure to stay cognizant of them, stay appreciative. So some of the stuff that happens, I would maybe not do if it was a home game. Like if we were a home game and we did our big masquerade scene where our prince got torpered, I probably wouldn't have cared as much about who's at the masquerade, but like I also keep the stream open on my phone so that I can see the chat,
Hmm.
just in case I forgot something. Um, Chat also lets us know when there's no sound.
Always
um,
helpful.
but like we were doing the masquerade and I was describing the outfits of people there, and chat just started lighting up with like, oh my god, I can't wait to see what Hex is wearing. Where is Hex? Where is Hex? I can't wait to see what Hex is going to do. And I had no plans for Hex at the masquerade, just because that wasn't really like the core thing, but at that point she was becoming such a fan favorite,
Hmm.
so I just gave her a little moment and people loved it. And so that's part of the key thing of remembering, like, oh yeah, they really like her, and the love for Hex has become so important that we wound up casting Hex and now she's a part of the show.
Awesome.
So yeah, just remembering that you have an audience and they gave you their time.
Hmm. Yeah. When you're playing a home game, I think you're being entertained,
Mhm.
um, even as the storyteller. But when you're streaming a game, you are also being entertaining. Important to remember as you're going. It's very easy to get wrapped up in the moment, especially as a player. I feel like when I'm running games on stream, I'm more cognizant of it. But when I'm playing a game, I don't think about it as often. Then I'm just trying to. But I feel like as a player, I'm also always trying to be entertaining because I'm trying to entertain the other players at the table.
Yeah. Well, and
Awesome.
one thing that we make sure to do, for all of my players, I printed out a folder for each of them
Hmm.
that is basic game mechanics, their basics of their character sheet, and then just a little thing of all their disciplines, not the discipline section of the book, the specific ones that are on their sheet.
Yep.
And then whenever they want to do a discipline, we try to always read out loud what we're doing
Hmm.
and why, like, I'm going to activate this, so I'm going to roll this and this, because we've had a lot of people come to our show that have never played vampire before. So I try to make sure that we consciously explain what we're doing when we do it, just so then that way, like, okay, I'm going to turn on heightened senses. Okay, so, and then we'll explain what heightened senses does in the moment instead of just being like, okay, and move on.
Right. Nice. Yeah, I feel that'll help. That also helps with kind of the education side of it for people who are new to Vampire. Interesting. I'm gonna steal some of these.
I
um,
just want more people in the game that I love.
I know more people need to play Vampire. Uh, so I know we talked about a little bit about how much prep you put into things, both the sessions and overarching chronicles. How much time would you say you actually spend planning the sessions? Yeah.
More time than I really should. Um, I because it's also I'm a horribly stream of consciousness writer.
Hmm.
So as once it hits me, I could write 2 hours straight and finish everything and not touch it. Or like especially the first episode of the season, because we haven't done anything
Hmm.
yet, and a lot of my writing can feed off of what they've done. So like kicking off the Second Inquisition stuff, I had those notes. They just did it too early. So writing that was actually really easy because I was like, all right, time to do all this. Um,
Nice.
but like the first episode, we haven't done anything. So I have to be like, where do we start?
Right.
How do I do this? And then I always try and keep a list of Atlanta locations that I want to promote,
Hmm.
because like we have some wonderful places in Atlanta and some of them really just need some love. Like We did a whole episode in the Center for the Puppetry Arts because it's a wonderful institution and it's only like $12 to go there. So I figured we have a platform, let's promote a little thing. And so that episode becomes very easy to write because I know the Center for the Puppetry Arts. We went and took a tour right before we did it, and I told the tour guide what I was doing. So he explained some of the building to me.
That's awesome.
So then it was easier to prep for that session because I could be like, okay, when you go in this area, you know that there's this, you know that there's this. So sometimes it's easier depending on the location.
Hmm.
But I would say if I had to average it out, it's probably 2 to 4 hours a week.
I don't think that's not that bad. I was kind of picturing you being like, it's like 15 hours, but 2 to 4 hours isn't bad.
Well, and that's averaging it out because some of
Yeah.
them are super easy to write, and then some of them, it'll probably be like 30 minutes to an hour every day
Yeah.
trying to get together.
Interesting. Switching gears a little bit, one of the things that we talk about a lot here on Gehenna Gaming is different themes within games, particularly horror games like Vampire, and then why some games are better at exploring different themes than others. As a GM, what are some of your favorite themes to explore in tabletop gaming, and why slash which games are best at doing that?
So the theme that I really love, and this will sound strange, but I promise I can explain. Uh, I love to explore hope
Hmm.
with Vampire because I feel like in general, Vampire is a game based in hope
Absolutely.
because it's your struggle with humanity. It's trying very hard to maintain in the society, trying to stay away from the beast. If you don't have hope, then it's essentially a murder hobo campaign.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, that's why we have like the lost child or that hope for rebuilding Atlanta to getting to a better place and connecting with these people and giving them a better life as kindred. And so we really focus on hope. That was also why we had an episode that dealt with human trafficking, because it's actually a huge problem here in Atlanta.
Right.
Um, so we had a kindred that was trafficked and was a lost child, or so they were able to bring them in, and that gave us an opportunity to talk about that,
Hmm.
um, and just hope for ending that in Atlanta. And we provided the hotline number for the human trafficking hotline. Um, so I try and work hope into everything. My D&D campaign, probably our biggest theme is I give more player themes than chronicle themes.
Hmm.
And this is also kind of in the vampire one. Um, I make my players challenge themselves to the point where now they just do it naturally. um, so like, all monster races, that was you're not going to play a human, so learn what you freaking like about playing an Aarakocra.
Hmm.
Learn what you like about playing a Minotaur. Um, and then in ATL by Night, a lot of our characters play them as people are very counter to the clan stereotype. So like our Ventru is a superintendent instead of being a CEO. Our Bruja is a CNN correspondent. Very like cancer in the system,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
our Gangrel is a detective.
Mm.
Our Tremere is a histories professor.
Interesting.
And our Banu Hakim is just creepy. And our Nosferatu is a gamer girl. And so in that we've actually created like these really cool moments because they're not playing stereotypical.
Right. That's awesome. I that's something I've always tried to push. Is playing against the clan stereotype. I think it's more interesting to do it that way. Especially when you do still pull in, the clan curse or weakness. And then in older editions, kind of playing off that, you do interesting things with that. Um, Two of my favorite characters are a CEO board Gangrel and a pirate Tremere.
Oh, I love
So
that. I currently for B. Dave Walters server, I play a Malkavian who's a former sergeant.
hmm,
Um
interesting.
because few people, like, I grew up in a military town,
Yeah,
and a lot of people don't realize the mental health struggles of soldiers.
absolutely.
And so I've been able to bring in a lot of my friends' experiences coming back into playing her in ways that, a couple people wind up reaching out to me going, I realized that was a thing. And it's like, yeah,
Yep.
like, she sometimes has problems when she goes to the beach because she's walking on sand. Because I have a lot of friends that came back and they get very upset walking on sand.
Interesting.
Um, and I play her very like in social situations, she has no idea what to do. She's absolutely terrible at it.
Yep.
She is a lot of people call her a Camarilla lapdog, and it's because the Camarilla offers structure. It's very
Hmm.
militaristic structure.
Absolutely.
And so in court, she is completely normal. Completely normal. You'd never know she was Clan Malkavian. She behaves perfectly, bows, kisses, rings. Fantastic. And then she has to go to a social situation and she fucks it up.
That's fantastic. Um, I had thought of a question and I lost it, so I'm just going to jump back to my list and hopefully it comes back to me because it was a good question, I think. Um, we've talked a lot about world building and characters. One of the things that is I personally find at least very important in Vampire is uh, integrating character backstories into the game I'm running. And how much do you balance kind of like an overarching plot versus basing a lot of what happens on player backstories and interweaving the NPCs from their backstories into things?
So, because I work in film, I have a lot of film analogies. Uh for me, the plot and the chronicle is the script that we're using,
Mhm.
but the players' backgrounds are the set dressing and costuming.
Oh, nice.
They're
Okay.
kind of the flavor that comes into every situation. So like the shepherds, our coterie, were always going to meet the Glasswalker tribe.
Hmm.
That was just always going to be a thing that happens. But because Aaron had this Glasswalker girlfriend from years ago, that became the flavor of the situation that they sent her to be the one to talk to them.
Hmm.
And the complexity of that dynamic there. And then realizing later when they got to meet the head of the Glasswalkers, she was just kind of like, well, I mean, she told you what happened. And he said no. And that was when my brain went, no, she didn't. And so it created this beautiful moment of the head of the Glasswalkers having to be like, we gave her a choice of her life or yours, and she chose hers. I'm really sorry, kid. So it adds all the flavor to
Yeah,
what we're doing.
it's awesome. Um, One quick comment: my wife now really wants to play in a game with you.
Oh,
She's like, I want to play with her. I'm
that
watching
makes
her.
me so
I'm
happy.
watching her talk in chat. I'm jumping around a little bit. The question I was going to ask was, what is, if you had to pinpoint it, what is your favorite part about running tabletop games?
Oh my god. I love telling stories. I always have. I love the oral tradition of just like reading stories by campfires, and this feels like a structured reading stories by campfire where everyone gets to participate.
Mm-hmm.
Um because like even back when I was in Girl Scouts, we would do like, instead of somebody telling a horror story by the campfire, we would do it round robin style, where like each person told the next part and you would get to tell like a whole little section of the story, and we would go around and it always wound up terrifying. um so it's like it's that collaborative storytelling. I love telling stories, and then I think all of us together getting to tell a story, we're all adding our own thing to it,
Mm-hmm.
and that just makes it better for everybody. Because my players will come up with stuff I would have never come up with.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite part is the collaborative nature of the story.
Awesome. I think that's probably mine as well. Yeah. Yeah. I had to think about it.
Also, their faces whenever I like throw something at them.
That's my favorite part. The reactions. Um,
I actually had to move my desk.
Don't do this.
A secret of the ATL by night setup is we used to be in a U shape with me in the middle. But the tense moments, I get very like I get nervous laughter really bad.
Mhm.
And so when two characters would start yelling at each other, I would nervous laugh like really bad. And we moved my desk to where now like they're in an L shape and I'm like over here.
Just I'm
So I'm
picturing
like very disconnected.
I'm picturing the Simpsons meme. It's like I'm in trouble. I'm in danger.
Yeah, it helps now that there's like camera tripods between me and their anger.
Nice. And good question from chat. What's your biggest pet peeve at the table?
Biggest pet peeve at the table is so again back to the time commodity
Hmm.
thing. Not only is our audience time precious, your fellow players time is precious. Because they have things that they want to do too. They have things they want to say, things they want to accomplish. So when someone is really taking a scene and not really letting anyone else talk, or they've been bouncing back and forth and there's a player who hasn't talked in a while, I try to help mitigate that a bit by
Hmm.
stopping something and asking the next player, is there anything you wanted to do? So just be respectful of your other player's time and how much time you've been talking.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that's good general advice at any game, but particularly in a streamed game for sure. And also very very important in um convention one shots.
Oh yeah.
Hugely
I think
important.
that's I know I have a problem with that in combat as a Malkavian because I've been doing it for so long that I'm used to stacking my actions because I know, okay, I need to do this and this and this.
Yep.
And I'll try to do all that in one turn. And every time I get told, okay, wait, we're going to let them, I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I want to do this and that whole. You can do two of those. That's like, okay.
Yeah, it's because I'm just so used to stacking my actions because it's stuff like, okay, well, I have irresistible voice and terminal decree and compel. So I'm gonna make this happen. Anyone in this vicinity, walk off a cliff.
That's awesome. Um, One thing I noticed, obviously, for people who don't follow ATL by Night, you should definitely go to twitch.tv/ATL by Night. But you also have a YouTube page,
Yes.
which is a very long URL, and I will paste it into chat later.
Yeah, we haven't gotten fancy enough to have a vanity URL yet.
Yeah, no, it YouTube likes to gatekeep a lot of stuff like that. But you've streamed some of the vampire video games in the past. Bloodlines,
Yes.
I believe you've done Coteries New York. Shadows came out today. I just found out. Apparently,
I
I
know, I'm
missed.
already preparing.
Um, do you ever plan on extending past the vampire content and doing other stuff either within broader World of Darkness or other gaming, either live streaming or recording and putting it on YouTube?
Yes. The only reason that we haven't is because of lack of V5s.
Mm.
For a lot of the games, people have really taken to the Glasswalker tribe that we have because the leader of the Glasswalker tribe is a former Giovanni.
Mm.
Um, her mother married into the family,
Okay.
and she wasn't embraced Giovanni, but she was a Giovanni. Um,
Gotcha. Okay, my brain did the kindred thing, and then I was like, wait,
yeah,
they're a family too. Hold on.
yeah.
Did that internally while you were talking. I was like, yes.
Yeah, so yeah, she had her first change during dinner with her husband and child.
Oh, nice, lovely.
Um yeah, oh, it was terrible. Her son survived because I don't do violence against children on my shows. um but so people have really liked the Glasswalker tribe, so
Mm.
I am very much keeping a close eye on the werewolf book coming out,
Awesome,
and we will probably be doing ATL by Moonlight
awesome, very nice.
whenever the werewolf book comes out. I want to do some one shots uh in the other stuff, because even though they're older books, I still want people to be exposed to them.
Oh yeah.
So like I personally really love Wraith. I am a chicken and I can't play the VR game. I will fall down and cry.
Hmm.
But I love Wraith and just the exploration of death,
Yep.
as obvious by liking playing Euthanatos. Because I very much have like a very crippling fear of death. So Wraith is very therapeutic in that sense.
Hmm.
So I'd love to do a Wraith one shot. I would
Awesome.
love to do, you know, let's pull out Demon. Fuck it.
Demons. Demon's the only other one I've werewolf, vampire, and demon. Wraith is the next one on my list that I haven't gotten a chance to play before. That I'm.
Wraith can be so draining, like just emotionally.
That's why I've heard everyone talks about Changeling being very emotional, but I feel like Wraith is gonna be a lot.
I want to try Changeling too. Changeling I have not played. My husband is very into Changeling. That was his first introduction to World of Darkness.
Nice.
So I've heard about Changeling through him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because I'm just such a goth kid that Changeling hadn't appealed to me before now.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I hear about it, the more I'm like, oh, it feels like with all the franchises in World of Darkness, what makes it dark just happens in different places.
Yeah.
So like Wraith, you're starting in darkness.
Oh yeah.
Like just what you are
Mm-hmm.
is darkness. Everything else can actually be very beautiful and very loving.
Mm-hmm.
Changeling, it seems like the darkness, it's sort of like vampire where it's a little bit looming. But it comes out in like this pepper spray
Yeah.
of
Like spray painting
darkness. Darkness. Yeah, like
across neon signs.
Yeah, like it's very neon and colorful and poppy, but in kind of that like a cyberpunk sort of way where it's like bright colors, fancy, something's not right here.
Absolutely. I want to get to this question quickly because Josephine has to jump and she asked it, so I will ask it for her. As a storyteller specifically, what are you always looking to improve or better about how you run games?
I always want to get better at improv.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to be able to give the same level of perceived planning. Uh, like if my players need a continent, I want to be able to come up with one for them. And then I always want to improve bringing the horror personal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I think that's where a lot of vampire comes in to become as terrifying and dark as it can be because like we're all monsters.
Yeah.
We get that. So I always want to get better at being able to bring the horror home and just, you know, find new and better ways to improve my storytelling to do that because I have not a very dramatic way of speaking and I know that. uh but that's kind of what I love. All of the storytellers in the streamiverse of World of Darkness, we all have different voices.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't storytell like Jason Carl. I don't have that voice.
Yeah, no.
So I always try to work to make the way I naturally speak and be able to enhance it in ways that like you get used to me speaking this way, so how can I use that to my advantage to like sneak the horror up
Mm-hmm.
under it? You know, I can just say it with a smile and be like, and then, you know.
Yeah, I think that's good. Also, thank you, Josephine. I'm
Yes,
stealing
thank
that
you so much,
question.
Josephine.
I'm stealing that question for future interviews. I like that one. Keep that. A couple other questions asked by chat, and I'm gonna ask kind of my lightning roundy sort of questions here. What tips would you give other streamers or even just GMs for home games for overcoming pre-game anxiety?
Um, it is both better and just as bad as you think. Uh, that sounds counterproductive, but if I just go ahead and make peace that I'm gonna screw up, because I have dyslexia,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and dyscalculia, and so I know that I'm gonna misread my notes. If I just make my peace that I'm gonna misread it, you know, like I had some dyslexia moments in our first episode, and the chat was super supportive, and that made all the difference in the world to me. So you're gonna screw up, but this is such a wonderful community that they're gonna have your back.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
fine.
Absolutely.
So you're gonna suck, and it's gonna be okay.
Sorry, reading my notes. What is one particular theme you are hoping to explore in Atlanta by Night that you haven't had a chance to yet?
Cults. um yeah. I have a very long-term life fascination with cults. Because friendly child me almost got recruited into one without knowing it. Um, just it
Story
was
time?
such a nice person at the campgrounds. And ever since then, like, it was one of my friends at school that had to tell me like what that was, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I thought they were just nice."
Mark immediately wants to know what cult.
I don't remember. I can look it up and send it to Mark later.
That's awesome.
Um, and
I mean, it's not awesome, but it's awesome.
um so like I really want to explore cults just
Mm.
because like especially in the vampire world, not just Cult of the Blood Gods, but there's just in general a lot of cults that exist.
But yeah.
Sorry to my friends that play them, the Bahari are a cult. And you know, they have been a really fascinating cult because I've seen them play just such a variety of ways. The Ministry is a cult. You know, like I really want to explore the more culty aspects because like we have a Scientology center in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I feel like just by saying that they're now following me.
Yep. They
Um,
immediately tuned in. I just saw the viewers jump about by 50 people. No.
I'm a suppressive person. Go away. Um, so like I want to explore like the cult themes because that can
Mm.
get really fun. I want to explore death more and bring in some wraith elements
Mm-hmm.
because we're really not going to get a V5 of that anytime soon.
I mean, we are getting a video game.
We're getting a video game, which means other people will soon know why I love it.
Are you listening, Justin?
Justin? um but yeah, so I want to bring in at least flavors of the other World of Darkness
Yeah.
stuff. You know, like maybe they just happen across a mage that's like, what the fuck are you guys doing here? You know, just to kind of bring in that. I would love to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, cults are one of my favorite themes to explore because I really enjoy occult themes in the World of Darkness. So I've done a lot of that in the past, as well as actually wraiths. Ironically, the first scenario I wrote for running at conventions involved a wraith, so
Nice.
that was pretty fun.
So we're starting a cult.
We'll have to start a cult in Iron City.
Yes.
Oh, that
Yes.
could go very poorly and amazingly. It will go amazingly poorly. Lightning round questions. First answers that come to your mind. If you could run a game one shot for anyone, who would you want sitting at the table?
Oh god, table compromised of Shane Easton.
Mhm.
I adore her with my whole soul. Josephine McAdam. Uh Also adore her with my whole soul. Cynthia Marie.
Yep.
Also adore her with my whole soul. And then just for funsies, Dame Judi Dench.
That'd be amazing.
Because she knows how to play D&D now.
Yes.
But I would love an all-girl game with all of them.
That would be really cool. That would be awesome. I would also I would pay to watch that. Favorite food?
Favorite food? Okay. It's something I make, so it sounds terribly arrogant. But I home make a baked mac and cheese. I make my own cheese sauce. I use like 5 kinds of cheese.
Nice.
And then I make the cheese sauce spicy, and then I use flaming hot Cheetos for the crust.
That's everything sounds amazing about that.
I have a ridiculous love of flaming hot Cheetos. I have a section of my wardrobe that is flaming hot Cheetos merch.
And now I have learned something about you today. I've learned many things about you, but I feel like that was the most important tidbit of information.
I have a Flaming Hot Cheetos windbreaker near the front door.
That's amazing.
I love them. It's like dark reasons why I love Flaming Hot Cheetos, but I have loved them since I was like 8 years old.
Are these cult related reasons?
No. It was my school had vending machines and I guess content warning, but I'm only gonna lightly mention it. I used to have an eating disorder. Um and it was just one of those, in the vending machine was hot fries. Always. There were always hot fries. No one else in the school liked them. And
Hot fries are
even
life.
with an eating disorder, I would be like, I got 50 cents.
Nice.
And I would just get a bag of hot fries. So even when I didn't want any other food in the world, I would get hot fries, and that was like my comfort food. And so I've just stuck with hot fries forever, and everyone knows that about me now in my hometown. And so that just progressed as I moved to Atlanta, and now it's just hot fry central over here.
That's amazing. Chef's kiss, perfect. Which one of your players is? No, I won't ask. Which one of your players is your favorite now?
I feel like I'm obligated to say my husband.
I mean, sure. No. What has been your favorite episode of Atlanta by Night?
Oh God.
Not counting the most recent one.
Uh. So, oh gosh. From season 1, it would be the Center for Puppetry Arts episode, because that NPC was supposed to be plot crucial, and the Banu Hakim bestial failed and just fucking ate her heart right then and there. She was in torpor. They were on their way out. He bestial failed and frenzied and just ate her heart. And I wish I would have had her character sheet physical so I could just rip it in front of them. But it was
Yeah.
good moment. And then season 2, it would be the Werewolf Club, because we just went all out for it.
Nice.
I didn't tell the cast everything that was happening. I just said, wear neon, and I prepped the entire set with black lights and everything. I had like the Glasswalker symbol in neon across my face, teased up my hair, had a fur shawl, like, so we went full out neon club for the Glasswalkers.
That is the first episode of Atlanta by Night I saw. I was like, this is an interesting show.
And that was a special episode. We're actually doing a special episode next week because Dragon Con is such a crucial thing to Atlanta. So they're going to Dragon Con next episode.
That's amazing. That's great. Last question. And then if there's any more questions from chat, I will swing around and get to those. I don't think I've noticed any new ones in particular. But my questions are all out of order. What do we have to look forward to in the immediate future? What do you have going on project-wise? I know we talked about it earlier, but we can recap.
Yes, so I've got Iron City by Night coming up in October. We've got ATL by Night. We always go 2 months on, 2 months off. So you've got us for September and October. Mortal's Guide to Darkness is still being filmed right now. We're not going to do a release date on that until it's done, just because with having shows to run, we don't want to plan that. We have some vignettes coming for ATL by Night that feature some very, very special guests.
Awesome.
That's a secret right now.
Exciting.
And No Kindred Hungry is coming back. We're still on our round robin storyteller style. So our next storyteller is Shane Easton.
Awesome.
It's her first time storytelling ever. So I'm so excited. She's going to be great. I think that's all my current streaming stuff. I will be doing Saturday one-shots with you on Halloween.
Yep.
I think that's all my stuff right now.
I've been informed I need to warn you there may be flaming hot clothes coming your way in about 5 seconds.
Yes, please send me more. If I don't already own them, I will purchase.
No, I think I mean literally coming into the room.
Oh my God. I think my husband is bringing something. Oh, examples. I'm not kidding. I have a long sleeve shirt. It's even got little flames on it.
Oh,
And
that's
then
amazing.
this is the windbreaker.
That wow, that looks like a racing jacket, like a NASCAR level.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Oh, yay! He brought me the set I was telling you about
Oh,
of the
cool.
Queen's Mountain Palace.
Excellent.
Me.
That is very cool.
I'm trying not to drop anything on it. But yeah, so and then this is all like fake water and everything.
Very
Thank
cool.
you so much, hon. It's very heavy.
I believe it.
Full of resin.
I believe it.
Originally it was supposed to light up, and then I accidentally sealed the bottom with the lights inside without taking out the
Oops. That's nice. That's awesome. That's actually really cool. I love that level of kind of set design, because just having like hex grids and maps doesn't feel engaging to me for Dungeons and Dragons. But that's really cool. I can appreciate that. We did get a really good question in chat. If you were going to recommend, if you were going to start watching ATL by Night right now for the first time, what would you start with? Episode 1, or would you start with one of your recaps? What would you recommend people jump into first?
So, part of the design of ATL by Night is that we try to keep the show to 2 hours. Because some streaming shows can go to 4 hours, and it will take me a week to catch up on them.
Yep.
So I would say start from episode 1, but give us your patience in the first season. Because season 1, we actually filmed in my friend's basement, because he has a very cool voodoo lounge basement. But it is a very old house, so the sound on that season is not that good. But we do so much character establishing that goes into season 2. But I would say probably, so a good place to start to see if you even like us as a cast. After the season, we do 3 episodes of a show called Blood Bonding, which is our kind of, for Critical Role fans, Talks Machina style interview show.
Yep.
And we pair off the cast to talk to our interviewer, who is our sound engineer.
Nice.
So I would say check out Blood Bonding, because also I think part of enjoying the show is, do you like the cast? So you can watch Blood Bonding, kind of get a feel for us as people, see if you like us there. But I would start with season 1, episode 1. At this point, I am planning after this season to probably do a 3-season recap, since we'll have a new prince by the end of the season. So my goal is with a new prince, we're starting kind of like this new arc.
Awesome.
And so I want to do a summary of the first 3 seasons.
Very cool. Someone asked if the sorry, it just got moved because someone gifted subs. Thank you, Carrie and Comfort Studios.
Yay!
Do the episodes have captions over on YouTube?
I think the YouTube is set up to auto-generate them. I'm not positive. I am a La Sombra deep down. I am very technologically inept. So if there are not captions auto-generated, somebody please tell me how to do that.
I could actually walk you through that.
Okay, thank you. Because the goal is to have captions, because we try to minimize crosstalk for people for that reason, especially with the first season having kind of sound issues. But yeah, if they don't auto-generate, I will figure it out.
There's a way to do it. There's a setting. It's just hidden in the video stuff when you transfer them from Twitch. So I just dumped a bunch of links in chat right before Wes spammed me with gifted subs. So you can find Atlanta by Night at atlbynight.net. We'll have links to a bunch of stuff. But where else can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Ellie_A_Collins. You can find me on all the ATL by Night socials. I'm going to be picking up gaming on our channel, playing Shadows of New York.
Nice.
Our fans also voted for me to start playing Vampire, the game. I told them they could vote on any vampire game, and I will play it on our channel. So I'm going to start playing that here soon. And I think that is most of my social. You can find me on Iron City by Night when that launches.
Playing a horrible, horrible person.
Just a mean girl that loves her daddy and Alabama football. Um,
I haven't
and you
talked about
can
who I'm playing yet, so.
and you can find me on Elder Scrolls being absolutely terrible as a Khajiit.
Nice. Very nice. Did have another question pop in. It's pretty great.
I
From
was also brought these.
Oh no, Cheeto sucks.
Sponsor me, Cheetah.
ATL by night, sponsored by Cheetos. Can you talk about how you prep playing NPCs?
I the biggest prep to play them, and this is solely from a voice acting standpoint. Um, I write under them higher, low, or medium.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, type, so like gruff, airy, and then mood, so like angry, seductive, and I just have those 3 words underneath each NPC's name so that I can remember how to talk like them. So like Mooney, it says like low, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like monotone, seductive. So then when it's time to talk to her, I know to immediately drop in with hello. Or with Dot, I have like low, gravelly, bitchy.
Yeah.
So then, she just says, "What do you want?" And it helps me drop into character super fast just to have like those 3 notes, because those are just the 3 makeups of each voice.
Awesome. Very cool. So that's a wrap on our interview. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we sign off for the evening?
No, welcome more people into Vampire the Masquerade. And on our website, atlbynight.net, we have the Lost Child or Play Guide completely available for free. It has a lore sheet you can take. It has character creation guide, including special merits and flaws and backgrounds you can take, and special build requisites, such as getting 2 predator types because you had a bad one and you learned how to be better. Um, and we've got all the info there for the Lost Child or Play Guide. And we are slowly but surely, so I can't make any promises, working on an ATL source book.
Awesome. Very cool. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Remind everyone that September is September. So if you subscribe to either Gehenna Gaming or ATL by Night this month for the first time, which is an important caveat, with a recurring sub, you get a discount and we still get our full portion of that. So it's very much appreciated for subscribing this month. You should definitely subscribe to ATL by Night. You should check out some of our other friends like Carry and Comfort Studios, who were Ellie and I are both going to be playing in Iron City by night over on, and then obviously here. But I mean, um, I want to let everyone know we have a very cool interview coming up on our podcast this Sunday that everyone should check out. I spoke with Rick Hines, lead writer for the Red Opera, which is a heavy metal themed warlock focused D&D module,
Excited.
as well as James Dorton, lead singer from Black Crown Initiate, who is also involved with that project. You should check that out. We have some other cool stuff coming up in the very near future. Forbidden Lands on Sunday. Minor spoilers. Closing in on the end of our Monster Hearts 2 game, Gehenna Valley, very soon. And we have some exciting news about that coming up, so make sure you tune in for that on Monday. Tuesday, we have an interview coming up with, I'm blanking on his name, but the host of 2D10, formerly 25 years of VTM, but he's no longer on that podcast. And then I will be live reviewing the demo of Nope. Wow, I'm blanking on the name of the game. No Place for Bravery, which is launching during PAX Online next week, I think. I may have said the name of the game wrong, though. I'll look that up and I'll tweet about it. And then we have an interview with Cynthia Marie coming up. So,
I love that.
make sure you follow us for all of those exciting things. Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Gehenna Gaming, across all those things. YouTube.com/Gehenna Gaming, GehennaGaming.com will give you links to all those things. We appreciate it. Make sure you follow Ellie on Twitter. Follow Atlanta by Night on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all the things, Instagram. And come hang out with myself and Ellie and the rest of our community over on Discord, which I saw one of our mods just dropped a link to in chat. So thank you very much. Ellie, it has been a pleasure. It's always
Thank you so
wonderful
much
to.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. It's always wonderful to talk to you. I'm very much looking forward to playing in a game with you because I've only got to watch you either run or play in games so far. It'll be really fun, and we'll have to talk about getting you stealing you for more of our stuff soon too.
Definitely down for it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate everyone who tuned in. Thank you to Josephine McAdams for rating and all of the Sugar Cubes for sticking around and enjoying this fantastic interview. And we will be back in the very near future. Where's my button? Where's my button? Don't be B Dave and hit the wrong button. Okay, there we go. Thank you and good night, everyone.